What is up, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. It is a Wednesday night in April, which means the draft is coming up soon, and we might just talk about that tonight. Who is
Couple
we?
weeks away, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think 3 weeks from now, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, end of the month.
That's Kyle West. How are you, sir?
I am doing good.
Nice. Adam Carlson, holding us down at the bottom of this upside-down pyramid. How are you?
I am still celebrating former Minnesota Viking Roman Reigns winning at WrestleMania.
Very nice.
The tribal chief. Adam, I think you're kind of like the tribal chief here at the Purple People Podcast.
Even Brock got his win at WrestleMania. I mean, it was a good time.
You
Vikings
hated that
win all
match,
around.
didn't you?
Brock and Omos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not very... at least it was short. That's a good thing.
It was short. They clobbered one another, and there was a gigantic rest hold and an F5.
But
That's about what it should have been.
Seeing Omos throw Brock around like that for a little bit was fun, though.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
You don't see that too often.
Today, we're going to talk about linebackers. We've been doing positional breakdowns here on the Purple People Podcast, starting with the quarterback. We've ran through all of the offense. We started the defense last week with right on cue. Look at that. Purple and gold for days. What's up, man?
Heyo, welcome.
Someone has notifications set up.
I turned mine on for
like
Justin's, and I was listening earlier as he and one of his compadres did a mock draft with the Vikings. Had to go for dinner, so I'm going to rewatch that and see who you got selected. But they've become really good friends recently, and we enjoyed having you on last week, Justin. That was so much fun. I'm sure we'll do it again, and y'all check them out. If you want to listen to a different podcast about the Vikings, Justin puts out a lot of content. I really like his stuff.
Yeah, good stuff, guys.
He's pushing some buttons out there, too. We'll talk about some of the stuff he talked about as well with quarterbacks and Kirk not being extended. Maybe this is his last year. We'll get into that in a little while, but we've been doing positional breakdowns. So this week we're going to talk about linebackers for the Minnesota Vikings. And as it sits right now, April 5th of 2023, I have penciled in 2 linebackers, assuming we don't keep the 3-4. But if we do, whatever, we'll add those outside linebackers in. But I have Brian Asamoah and Jordan Hicks as our 2 veteran starter guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's going to wow anyone, but seeing as how the Vikings got rid of Eric Kendricks and you needed an explosive rookie to step in, you still have a veteran in Jordan Hicks. I'm not hitting the panic button on that position group yet, but I'm not surprised. I won't be surprised if they take one in the draft or if they acquire one in free agency after the draft, because I feel like this is under the radar, a position group that we still need to identify.
Yeah, if you're not out fishing for a starter, you should at least be looking for a little depth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's currently 5 linebackers here on the roster. Brian Asamoah, I'm a big fan of his. He's got a lot of potential. Like you said, Jordan Hicks, you can kind of pin him or pencil him in as your starter. He's a veteran player. He will get you by, but you're not betting the farm on him, I don't think, long term. So you're looking to maybe draft one mid-round to kind of
Pairing
shuffle
him
in
as
there
a
for
thumper
couple
with an
years.
athletic guy that can be a little rangy on the field.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
Troy Dye, I like Troy Dye. He's kind of a backup special teams guy, but he's got some potential out there too. The other 2 I don't know anything about. Troy Reeder and William. Well, I can't even pronounce his last name.
Yeah, Troy Reeder was recently signed.
Yeah. What did you say? Quincu
or Quinco?
Quincu?
I'm not sure if it's which one it is. We'll go with Quincu.
That sounds right. I don't know anything about either of those 2 guys. I'd love to be pleasantly surprised. You never know, but...
Now, reading down this list, I'm on Vikings.com. I did the same as you, Kyle. I'm seeing Brian Asamoah going into year 2, Troy Dye into year 4, Jordan Hicks is the veteran at year 9, William Quincu at 2, and then Troy Reeder at 5. So this fits the game plan, as we talked about last week with Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell getting younger overall. Obviously, you have the outlier in Jordan Hicks, but he's going to be a starter. He's only 30. Everybody else, a little younger and inexperienced, yes, but I'm excited to see what happens with Brian Flores and the stamp, because a lot of talk about him coming in, is just excitement. But it's really, you wonder with the group that we had last year, had you had someone competent back there, I don't think that defense is nearly as bad as it was. Playing to the players' strengths and what they do well and adjusting that way, or scheming them into your plan and using it maybe a different player on this series, or hey, you're not as good in this position. I'm going to move you here, move this guy there. You guys are going to mesh well.
Yeah.
I got you can't get much worse. I think what were we 31st, and we were battling with last place with Detroit. So
yeah. So if there's ever a year that you wanted to shuffle around and like move on some from veteran players like your Eric Kendricks or whatever, you do it right now because you're not statistically really going to get much worse than what it was last year. We talked about this ever since we signed Brian Flores, but you really feel like just bringing him in as a D coordinator is going to improve the level of play calling. Just by default, you're going to be better with him. So I like the direction they're headed.
Adam, what's your feeling on the linebacking core? Are you thinking they're going to take one in the draft or post-draft? I'm assuming yes, but
I don't know when they're going to take one, but they will.
Right.
And that is because, like I said, I think right now that if the season were to start today, they'd be okay with their starting linebackers, but I don't think they'd be good with depth. An injury would be tough. I know a lot of Vikings fans really like Troy Dye, but I'm not sold totally on him being able to step in and contribute if needed.
That's a great point.
What scares you off on Troy Dye a little bit?
Not only is it he seems a little timid in support to me.
Okay.
That too is another point to add to Adams is talking about Brian Flores, the stamp he's going to have. But you mentioned depth. Look at what happened with safety last year. I mean, you draft a safety on a national championship college team, and then you don't get to play at all with him that year. He gets hurt. And then it's like, well, where were we at before we made this first round selection? And as it sits right now, the Vikings still haven't picked because the draft hasn't came. Yeah, the two starters, I put it average and label it as average. I like the upside of Asamoah. I don't think Jordan Hicks' ceiling is super high, but I don't think his floor is that low either. He's kind of in the middle. But God forbid one of those guys goes down. I don't know anything about Troy Reeder.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of William Kwenku, and I've only seen Troy Dye, in a handful of snaps when he's
William only got a few defensive snaps in that last game in Week 17 last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know,
or 18, I don't even know anymore.
We all know guys like Adam Thielen can work their way up on the practice squad. You could be a phenomenal special teams player. Chris Boyd was phenomenal, but that doesn't mean you're going to start at that respective position at whatever side of the ball you're on. So I'm not sure what their plan is, but I think we all kind of agree they're going to have to acquire at least one more linebacker. Don't know if it's going to be depth. Don't know if it's going to be a starter. They could shock the world, and I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it. You pick a linebacker at 23 if the best is available and it falls, but my guess is they'll probably acquire one in the middle to later rounds and go from there. But as it sits right now, this position group is not going to blow you away. But I am the most excited about Brian Asamoah. Watching him fly around the field last year was a lot of fun. 6 foot, 226. Yep. And he's wearing Dalvin Cook's old number, which still throws me for a loop when I see 33 running around out there.
Yeah, if he can be a little more disciplined, he could be a really good player in this league. Mm-hmm. But, I want to slide off for a second because I want to mention how I absolutely love that the last 3 comments here are from all 3 different streaming services.
Oh, sweet. I'm over here looking at the Vikings Wire and Vikings.com. Sweet. What's up? My brother's in purple pain. Yes. We feel that to the core. Mike, what's going on, brother? Thanks for coming back. We're talking about linebackers. We've been doing the positional breakdown the last couple of weeks. Check out last week's episode. We had the special guests on, Purple and Gold for Days. But we're getting close to the end because we're going to talk about D-line and then special teams the upcoming weeks, and then we should be ready for the draft by then.
Mm-hmm.
So are we including edge rushers this week or next week?
We'll do those
next week, yeah.
Include them with a defensive line? Okay.
Yeah, why not? Give me 2 more weeks, or we could spread it out to if you really want to split up special teams, we could split up edge rushers, and then interior, and then do the special teams at the end. But we're rounding it out. This has flown by pretty quickly. Not a lot to talk about with the linebackers here.
Well,
I
I have
would
an
be
interesting
mad.
point I wanted to bring up. Is
Go
that
ahead.
a fun wrinkle to this defense that kind of pertains to the linebacker position is going to be how they use Lewis Seen, who we know can sniff around kind of that middle of the field, make plays, be that thumper kind of player. So he's a safety, but he can fill in kind of in both spots. I'm excited to see how they use Lewis Seen and how you guys think that he will fit into kind of these positional battles a little bit too.
What's fun to think about because Anthony Barr was the first pick from Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman together, and this is their baby. Lewis
Hmm.
Seen is their first pick, and we haven't got to see him in action yet. I'm very, very excited and hopeful for that guy.
10K, I don't usually hop on Overwatch unless I think I'm going to be playing for a few hours for streaming. So if I'm only going to hop on for a few games, I just do it myself. But if I'm going to be on for a little while streaming, that's when I'll hop on Overwatch. Or I hope to start doing some more social games and things like that. So fingers crossed on all that.
Don't mind me. I'm just over here hearting and liking our stuff myself, trying to pump those numbers up. Not ashamed about it.
We finally logged back into our Twitter account, so maybe we'll start getting some stuff over there on the Twitter.
Yeah, I need to get that going on my phone as well too.
I keep getting
Thinking,
weird notifications about it, like from that Iowa women's basketball player.
Yeah,
They'll send me a notification every time she tweets.
that's funny.
I thought one of you guys set it up because I sure didn't.
no, we need to get back on that Twitter, like you said, and
I
get
even got a
going with
notification
that.
for a tweet from Donald Trump Jr., and I'm like, I did not set that up.
If Seen can stay healthy, should be vicious in Flores' game. He showed great blitz potential. That was my favorite thing about him, the straight line speed. I mean, he's a thumper for sure. He's got an old school play written all over him at safety. It just sucks. I hate that injury happened, but I'm glad it happened early if it was going to, because for all accounts that we've seen from January on, he's fully healthy and training and ready to go. So he'll be on the field sooner rather than later this coming season, which is very, very exciting. But
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
sounds like he's at the facility itching to go. So
Thank you, Real 10K Beers. This is cool, man. We like seeing new names and different platform come on here. We have our stream elements, Twitch that says hello, and lets Adam's channel know, hey, we're streaming live. But
yeah, Stream Elements is my moderating software. Make sure that nobody comes in and starts being all racist or terrible.
that's one thing I love about Twitch. You can't. They do go over the speech in there, which is not a bad thing on the internet. 'Cause people get a little crazy these days.
There can definitely be some trolls out there.
The worst. So let's dive into some draft talk because it's been going around on Twitter. I'm not going to give Pro Football Focus any love because they started charging for that. Bunch of communists. It's been free for however many years, and you're going to start charging for it.
There are a
Good luck
lot of
with
other
that.
great mock draft services out there that are currently not charging. So,
Correct.
I mean, if you don't want to pay for Pro Football Focus, there are plenty of
I
options.
mean, everyone has a mock draft. I don't know why you would pay for one.
No, it's ridiculous.
Just read a bunch.
Pro Football Network is one that I've been using lately, and I think they let you do trades and whatnot. But the Vikings sit with 5 draft picks this year. They pick at number 23, really number 22, I think, maybe because the Miami forfeiture.
Oh yeah, that weird thing.
But in either way, they're sitting at number 23. My heart says they're going to trade back, but there's been a lot of speculation. Shout out to, again, Purple and Gold for days, and I follow Mike Cassiano on Twitter. He really thinks we're getting up there to get Anthony Richardson, and I want to bring up the point and just let everybody in the room talk about it, about the mindset of, we'll leverage your future. Kirk's still good. He's here. I'm just trying to hit all the angles to see every way we can turn this around. Kirk Cousins was not extended. This is his last year as it looks like. Now that could change, but they did not extend him like he asked. And I am of the belief, like Justin is, that if you're going to take a quarterback, I think now is the time. The question is, A, who are you going to take? And B, how much are you going to leverage? Now, there were some good points made on his show earlier. Justin, I'm going to steal some of your points. Look at all of the first-round draft picks in the Spielman era that didn't work, because there were a few. Good, bad, or indifferent, we'll exclude Jeff Gladney because he passed away, and that's a different anomaly. But the Laquan Treadwells of that era versus, okay, I have a good with Justin Jefferson. Garrett Bradbury, he's all right. Go back and forth. Who else did they get?
Then you got the guys that just got hurt and they couldn't do much about it. The guys like Sharif Floyd, or Mike Hughes, where injuries just sidelined their careers.
You never really know, and that's good. That's a good point, Adam. It's not to say, oh, well, this guy was great at picking or this guy sucked and he's a bust. Is you really truthfully don't know how it's going to pan out till it pans out. So if you're going to leverage, my question is, who are you going to go after? I don't believe they're going to go after Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think they're going to go 1 and 2 respectively, and that's just my opinion. Anthony Richardson is a fun prospect to talk about because athletically, he's like Cam Newton. He's huge. He runs fast. He has a rocket arm, very athletic, and he can get outside the pocket. We haven't seen that for a very long time in a Minnesota Vikings quarterback. But the other question is, you think about the Josh Allen factor of this guy had like 56% completion percentage. That's where your head coach and your quarterback's coach come in handy. If you take a quarterback this year, which would lean to be Anthony Richardson, which I think is the very least possible because he's going to be out in the top 10 somewhere. Will Levis, if he falls, a little more likely. And then the most likely, which has been mocked to us, but I don't like it, number 23, is Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. None of these guys are going to start. We all agree with that. Kirk is here. He's getting paid. They're going to sit behind him. But I just don't want the Vikings, in my opinion, to give up, the actual farm for this. 3 firsts, a second, a third, a player. A couple of firsts, maybe a second or a third. If a guy starts to fall, if they fell in love with a guy, we won't know for another 3 weeks. They're going to go get him regardless, and I'm going to support that decision. But of all the 3 that I've mentioned, is there one that you're completely in or out on? And what's a realistic jump up to get those guys? Like, how much capital are we willing to give up? Because it's all hit or miss anyways. But I really –
and see,
having the picks this year is just so different from years past when we have – 12 draft picks, and I'm like,
I know. See, they don't have the picks, I don't think, and just based on what we've heard and what we've seen from Kwesi, I don't think that he's the type of GM who's willing to throw all the poker chips on the table and bet for right now. You got to remember I think his background is important on how he's going to run the team. And I just don't see him throwing everything in all at once to go up for a single player and completely bet the future on it, bet his future on it. I just don't see him doing that. I really think, and this is kind of a boring take, but it's honestly how I think they run their draft, is that there are pools that they have pools of players. So these guys are pool 1, pool 2, pool 3, and the Vikings are at what are we in? The end of the first round, okay? So they are going to be looking at any of these players in like pool 2. If they're available, we'll take any of them at the end of this round, okay? I don't think that they are willing to... They're not going to be so in love with a player from like a higher pool that they're willing to trade up for them. Does any of that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, the value in trading up from where the Vikings currently sit might be a little too much to kind of manage at this point, especially with their limited resources.
Yeah, I just think they're going to sit tight and say, hey, we've got these 3 or 4 players that we really like that we think are going to be available either when we pick, or we can trade back a couple positions, get some more value. One of the 3 or 4 is still going to be there, and that's who we're going to take.
Because let's be honest, those top 3 quarterbacks are probably going top 10.
I think so, too. I think the one that may fall is Levis from Kentucky. And Hendon Hooker is a good question mark because he has physical traits. And I talked to my buddy Dave. Shout out to Dave, big Eagles fan. I used to work with him in Nashville at the airport. He's a massive Tennessee Volunteers fan. He goes, dude, if you want a guy who's like a locker room, rah-rah coach, loving quarterback, he goes, this guy was supposed to be like a scientist for space or whatever, to look up exactly what his degree was in, but he's stupid smart. I mean, way out there. But I don't see the value at that kid at 23. I know that Tennessee was very much improved this year, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, hey, have you heard about the kid from Tennessee? Kyle sent me a tweet the other day. He's like, check this kid out. I'm like, yeah, I'm a Tar Heel fan. That kid's going to go in the top 10 next year. He's going to be a top 10 draft pick a year from now. But I didn't hear that about Hendon Hooker. So if we're trading back, maybe you get him in the second round. Cool. And also, just for you guys that haven't looked into it, because I haven't looked at it at all, he is 25. So that does matter to some degree. Take it for what you will. I would think.
Yeah, I don't know. The quarterback
just purple gold free agent quarterbacks. I wouldn't think signing one would be difficult. True, I just don't know the pool out there. But we did re-sign Nick Mullins, I believe. Elaborate more on that, Mike. We'll get back to it. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just gonna say I think that there are too many quarterback needy teams at the top part of this draft, and there's only. I mean, how many blockbuster trades are we going to see on draft day for these teams? You know, like, are we going to see...
Carolina didn't trade up to grab a defensive lineman.
Right. Yeah, and do we really think we're going to see Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and one of the quarterbacks from the 49ers, like, all get dealt on draft day so that teams can move around and pick quarterbacks, and suddenly the Vikings are in a perfect position that one of these players is like fallen to us? I don't.
And the Raiders are in a spot now where they should grab someone young to get ready for the future, because
I think so, but I also think with what Jimmy Garoppolo has done, I think that they're like all in on that guy. They could. I know Mariota wasn't there last year. I think he was with Atlanta, but I don't know if they want to do that to Jimmy, because he's kind of part of the reason he wanted to leave San Francisco, and he was laughing on the sidelines when they were getting blown out, because he's like, well, you wanted to roll this guy. Good luck with that.
Although that would be the most Jimmy G thing to happen to him, to get traded to another team and have that team.
What kind of accomplishments does Jimmy G have?
See, that's the thing. I'm not the biggest Jimmy Garoppolo fan, but I think he is. I think he has held his own when he's healthy. Now
he's less durable Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
He's Kirk Cousins with an injury history.
Here's a caveat.
Yeah, I know what Adam. The accuracy either.
Here's a caveat, because I know Adam will say this, and I'm with you on it. I know why he played in a Super Bowl when he was like 2 plays away from being a Super Bowl champ. I know why he was there. It was the team and the coach around him. But he has played there. He's learned under Brady and Belichick. He can get you through the season as long as he's healthy, and he can get you a couple of postseason wins. But
I always think it's funny because people are like, the Vikings will never win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins, but it's like Jimmy Garoppolo, sometimes people are like just all in on him. It's like, really? So that guy can win you a Super Bowl, but Kirk Cousins can't?
I will defend myself to the grave. I never said that. I know you're not saying that I said that, but on your point on that, Adam, and turn it back around with those folks. It's funny how people are like, Cousins will never win a Super Bowl yet. I've heard dozens of times saying if Kirk Cousins was on the 49ers, they'd win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's funny how there's. I don't know.
You were never going to win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford until Matthew Stafford was on a team that won a Super Bowl.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I love Kyle West, because he loves the shit on Matt Stafford, and I'm here to listen to it. I don't agree with it, but I think it's funny and it's super entertaining.
As soon as you got Stafford on a team that was competent, it was a different story. And let's be honest, the Raiders aren't exactly the most competent team in the league.
That right there. I don't know, man. Will Levis just makes sense to them, but it also they need so much help everywhere else. And you're in that division. I mean, is that guy going to come in and beat out Jimmy the first year? If you want to get an impact player,
I don't think you want him to.
You hope so. I don't think the kid from Kentucky is going to do that. I don't know. That's the other point too. As we're talking about the draft and quarterbacks, I hate how it's just second nature now, and it's just the new normal. Hey, we're just going to give up everything to go get a quarterback. I hate it. I know it's the most important position, and I understand you want to get your guy, but Jesus, man, the price tag just keeps going up every year. It's if the Vikings wanted to trade up to number 3 and they wanted to go after Anthony Richardson, let's say what I think is going to happen, Stroud and Bryce Young are going to go. They're going to have to give up 3 firsts at a minimum, and then probably some other picks, maybe a player. It's insane.
I'm going to get some flack for saying this, for being a complacent Cousins supporter who's okay with a mediocre team, whatever, around him. You know what one of my favorite things that Kirk Cousins has done for this team? We haven't had to... How long has he been with...
commercials?
Yeah, the Pizza Ranch. No, how long's he been with the team now? What?
This will be
How
his
many?
6th season.
6 seasons now. We haven't had to have this stupid conversation every offseason for about 6 years now, where we debate whether or not the Vikings are going to have to give up the farm to take a quarterback in the draft that they're probably reaching for.
Yep.
I hate that. But and you know what? We're going to be sitting here next year having the same conversation because
Yeah.
they're not taking a quarterback this year. I don't believe that.
I think they are. I just don't know if they're going to
I
do it in round
I
1.
I don't think that. I don't think they're taking a quarterback
I'll
this
tell
year.
you why I think they're taking a
And
quarterback,
it'd be a
Kyle. I think
mistake
they're
if
going
they
to trade
do.
back. I don't think so, because if Cousins is gone next year and you draft one this year and he gets to learn under him and Kevin, he could be ready next year.
So you think the Vikings are going to rock 3 quarterbacks this season?
He could. Why not? They've done it before.
Roster spots are kind of important.
That's fine. Quarterbacks are important. You're only an ACL tear away from Sam Bradford getting
Quarterbacks
traded
don't play
into-
special teams either, though.
That's true.
They should. That would be amazing.
Hey, I know you run a 5-1, but I need you to be the gunner on this play.
You're right.
No, I think this is just me spitballing here because I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I want them to take a corner because I don't know who the hell is going to play opposite Byron Murphy. That's my – and I know you Viking fans that are going to watch this later on the stream or whatever on YouTube.
It's a boring pick to take a corner. It's not
boring.
the exciting pick.
I
know everybody was like quarterback, wide receiver. Those would be the picks that people would go, oh, yeah.
It's going to be – Adam's right. It's going to be someone – boring. It's going to be a corner. It's going to be a defensive lineman or just something that's not really
a linebacker.
Yeah,
interior linebacker.
That's what I want to happen. Right. I would love a corner, a wide receiver 2, like a go-to wide receiver 2. Maybe could be a 1 on a really shitty team. We need a linebacker. That's fine. Defensive line, we could use help. Yeah, take your pick. We have 4 or 5 positions we can need depth at or a possible starter. But this is what I think they're going to do. Based on what you said, Kyle, and we've talked about this many times since Quessy got the job. That first press conference, he said, we're going to do everything with intent. I've always held on to that, and we're going to do everything, strategically, I believe is what he said. I think they're going to trade back. We're going to be mad. They're going to get a second-round pick. They'll get somebody to lock into a 5-year, rookie deal on the first round somewhere in there. They'll trade back to 29, 30, something like that. And if Hendon Hooker's there on day 2, I think they're going to take him. Why not?
That would be value.
That's what I want. And that's why I'm in on that guy because he does not have 23rd overall written on him anywhere. But anywhere after that, if you start doing that stock market trading that Quessy does, go do it. And we still haven't talked about this. I tweeted it today a couple of times. I try to stay active on Twitter and talk about the Vikings at least once a day. We don't know what's going to happen with Cook. All signs point to him being healthy, which is very good for his trade value.
There's a running back coming out of this year's draft that I was just reading about that they were saying that a lot of scouts are talking about how he has all this massive potential. How pissed would Vikings fans be if they drafted a running back?
Well, if it's Bijan Robinson, I won't be mad at all because he's the number 1 back in this draft and he's phenomenal.
Right. That's the kid I was talking about.
That's a luxury pick. Because realistically, can you find one at the end of the 3rd round? Yes, you can.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, if he's sitting there at the ass end of the draft, which I mean, it's a running back, that's probable. Do you take it? Is the value that good?
They'd be making calls trying to see what they could get for Cook if that was the case. But
that's true, and that was my point.
Draft day trades are going to be either like Cook or Za'Darius are going to be those guys that could move for a pick. But sad part is both are making enough money to where I don't think you're really going to get accurate compensation.
I think the best you're going to get for Dalvin Cook is a 5th-round pick.
Because look at what's happening with DeAndre Hopkins right now. The Cardinals wanted a 2nd-rounder, and now they're realizing they're probably going to settle for like a 5th and a 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know what? I think that's fair because Father Time is creeping in. There's no doubt he's still a very good football player. But it's funny, and this kind of bleeds into the Lamar Jackson talk too, is players always hype themselves up and think, I'm still the man, blah, 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 blah. But really, everybody else in the consensus are looking at him like, dude, you've been in the league for 8 years. You're getting old.
But for fans, and I hate to say this, but football fans are very nostalgia-minded. If a guy has a good season for a couple of years ago, And now that they hear the name, they're like, "Oh, well, that guy's pretty good. I know who that is."
Yeah.
Just because you have a familiar name, that doesn't mean that they're currently a good player.
You know, Adam, you'll like this analogy that I have here too, because it goes from a quote that I heard Paul Heyman talk about in an interview once that always stuck with me, and I thought that it compares really well to constructing a football roster, where he was talking about, how he builds like a roster, and he talked about how you don't necessarily want the guys who have done it for 10 years. You want the young guys who are hungry that you're going to get your next 10 years use out of. And so that's where you're talking about. You can sign a DeAndre Hopkins. Are you going to get another 8 years out of him? Probably not. Do you want the young kid that you're going to hopefully get an 8-year Pro Bowl stretch out of? It's a balancing act. You got to balance it. But I do like the way the Vikings are. They're betting on a lot of their younger talent right now, and they're giving them that opportunity to succeed.
We had talked earlier about, holes in the defense at corner, linebacker. They could always use an edge rusher or interior help. But I'm going to steal a point Justin made earlier today. Is you can never go wrong with stacking your offense. I won't be mad if they take a wide receiver in round 1. There's a ton of those.
I'm never mad at that. I'm never mad at drafting a corner. You can always give me another corner.
Are there any positions you might be mad if the first round pick is? I know that I've heard that there are some very close to elite tight end prospects in this draft, but if the Vikings draft a tight end, I'm going to be very confused.
Yeah, I would be confused at tight end. I would be confused, honestly, at running back if they did that one.
If they got rid of Cook, I wouldn't hate it, but like I said earlier, the key word for me there is luxury pick. Running back is a luxury pick at this point.
Because I would even understand edge, corner, safety, linebacker. If one of those top defensive tackles comes in, sure. I don't think defensive tackle is a major need, but if the talent is there, you can't pass it up.
Yeah, and that's another position where you like to have good depth at, too.
Justin says if they draft a running back, we riot.
Oh, that would
be... all right, Justin, if they trade Cook the next day for another 5th or a 5th and a 6th, does that help? And are we talking round 1 running back, or maybe we trade back and get a second? Where are we riding at? Because I feel like, round 1 running back, that's probably grounds to riot. I'd much rather, if you're going to go offense, go get another wide receiver. Because now... I don't know who past KJ Osborne is going to be the guy.
If they take a running back in the first round, we are clipping that from our live podcast and putting that all over social media, because that's going to be great reaction from fucking all of us.
Yeah, I can't. Oof. I won't have much to say, but my face will say a lot. I think, I'm taking his point from earlier. I think if you're going to load up, do the offense, man, this offense is going to be potent anyways.
Yeah.
The one thing we haven't mentioned really is if Minnesota goes with the interior offensive line in the first round.
I mean, I'm not going to be mad. That is the weakness of the offense. Let's be real. You can put lipstick on a pig, as they say, but it's still going to be a pig. Those 3 guys in the middle. I like Ezra Cleveland. I guess I'm all right with Garrett Bradbury. I mean, it's better than nobody standing in there in the way, but and Ed Ingram was not good. So
do you think do you think they would concede that quickly that Ed Ingram, one of their picks, isn't good?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I like that this team didn't, not yet. Now, I'm not saying they won't, because God knows that
they haven't given up.
Using a 3rd or a 4th to bring in competition for him.
Yeah, that would make sense. And I do like Ezra Cleveland. I think he's not I'm not putting him in the Vikings Ring of Honor, but he's a solid player.
Yeah, he's the best of the 3. And as you slowly move to the right, it gets a little worse for each person.
Progressively worse each turn.
And I like what I was going to say. I didn't want us to talk over each other was, I know the Vikings aren't the only team that does this, but I like so far, and it's only been a year, so let me put my foot in my mouth if they do this year. They're not doing what the other regime did, which is, you played right guard? You're going to play left guard.
Yeah.
Play him at right guard.
You played quarterback? You're going to play linebacker now.
Oh, God. Please. let him play the natural position. If somebody gets hurt, I'd say, Edingham gets hurt and we have to throw somebody that's a left guard back up in as a right guard. You got to do what you got to do. But they were trying out Wyatt Davis at center, and I'm like, isn't he a guard? It says guard on his draft sheet. All right. I mean, you know more than me, but and then he's not on the team after like a year or two. It's like,
didn't they try
okay.
Everson Griffin early in his career at some weird position? Do you remember that, Adam?
I don't remember that.
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought for like a couple weeks in training camp, like real early on, they tried Everson at like linebacker or something.
I do know that Anthony Barr was a running back.
Yeah, I think in high school he was.
Because we always said they should have put him in the goal line and just. Well,
we've seen him chase people down back in the day.
Yeah,
that was pretty sweet.
I'm reading up on Fan Nation. I have Vikings Wire up here. They have us taking a cornerback from Maryland at 23, which probably would be the most.
Right now, cornerback and quarterback seem to be the two most popular going for Minnesota, and I can understand why those two are mocked the most to Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to look for more of these mocks. Sorry, guys, this is going to be a little bit of a quiet show because we don't have too much to talk about.
There wasn't really any news this week, was there?
No, not for this team.
Nothing big. We're kind of in that quiet time leading up to the draft, where
I do like all the smoke and mirrors that are coming out though with other teams and the stuff. This team's looking at this guy, or we're some players talking, trying to get their stock up. I always find that entertaining.
Yeah, that's a good topic. That's a good thing to bring up, too, about the smoke and mirrors, because there was that story that came out about how Dalvin Cook is healthy and he's 100%, and it's the first time in 3 years, and I know some people were speculating, boy, did that come from Dalvin Cook's agent, or did that come from the Vikings? Like, someone is trying to drum up some interest on
It's funny,
on
I can
that
tell
one.
I'm a wrestling fan, because when you guys say smoke and mirrors, all I can think of is Cody Rhodes' old theme song.
That's funny.
But
yeah, Dalvin also posted on his social
that?
media the other day some articles.
I think people love Cody's new theme song.
I love that Adam keeps the wrestling stuff going.
We can fit more wrestling related
this show definitely can. And the funny part is
then
I don't watch it anymore, but you guys will cover for all three of us on that, which is amazing.
We'll make a Shawn Michaels reference for you at some point.
Thank
tonight.
you so much. Yeah. Just don't do anything the last 5 years, because looking at him now makes me sad. Oh man. Yeah.
No,
Dalvin
do you think that's
something on his social media the other day? It was from some article, and it was since 2019, he's like the second in the most scrimmage yards of all running backs.
Oh yeah.
And it says Pro Bowler Dalvin Cook, and he underlined that. And he just didn't say anything. He's like hyping himself up, like, dude, we're not saying that we don't like you, but you said you're not going to take a pay cut.
Since
what
since the year I handpicked, I am really good in this statistic.
I do like Dalvin. I think we saw a little bit of maybe just one step back last year. He did break the 1,000-yard mark, but I broke this down in a tweet the other day. Alexis is very big in Vikings Twitter. I don't know her affiliation with that at all. It's just one of the fans who has a lot of followers. But I said, if you break that down in a 17-game season, do you guys see my tweet about that? You know what the average is? Average yards per game for our 1,000-yard season for a rusher? 59 yards a game. That's terrible.
That's not great.
That's not good. And here's the thing.
Can Madison get you 59 yards a game?
Yes, 100% he can. I 1,000% think he can.
Yeah.
At a cheaper rate, which is kind of the point we've been making the last couple weeks about, all right, dude, you're going to have to take a pay cut. And he's like, well, I'm not. All right, well, I hope you like.
So I've been on TikTok a lot the last few days. And TikTok, for some reason, decided that I need to see a lot of clips from Moneyball, which I've never actually seen.
That's a good movie.
I know what it's about.
It's one of my favorite sports movies, and I don't even like baseball.
I don't like baseball either.
Yeah.
But with the new pitch clock, I'm thinking maybe it's time for me to try watching baseball again, because maybe games will be watchable.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I know that when the Vikings hired their new GM, there was a lot of talk about a Moneyball type situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what that means, trying to get the same production for less cost.
Right.
And we're seeing a little bit of that with some of the the higher priced Vikings players seeing their way out and younger players coming in to try to ensure the future a little bit here. But it's always a gamble when you replace a known commodity with someone that's a little more unknown.
Yeah, and baseball is a lot more like you can break that down a lot more statistically than what you can on football, because football has so many of those what the fuck moments that you can't account for. You can't really moneyball a football team the way you can a baseball team. So it in theory it's a fun idea, but in practice I don't think it relates one to one with what they're doing.
I agree, Justin. Running back, anything third round or higher, is talking about riding. I agree. And here's the thing: we've mentioned this on the show pretty recently, a couple times, but let's hit it again. We don't know anything about Ty Chandler or Kene Wangwu as far as the running game. I know Kene can return one and take one to the house on special teams. He's done that a few times. But you also have those guys. Nothing says you have to go get one, but all in all, the value there. I mean, that floored me the other day when I divided 1,000 by 17. I was like, Jesus.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
But here's the thing: if Dalvin was scoring a touchdown every single game and got these 17 touchdowns a year, I'd see more of an argument. He's not getting 17 touchdowns a year. Austin Eckler led the league last year with 18 scrimmage touchdowns as a running back, catching and running the ball. The Chargers don't want to pay him $7 million a year. I don't know. Maybe he lands on one of those, Bengals, Bills, Chiefs kind of thing where he goes and chases a ring and they need a little extra help in the running game. But I don't think he's staying on this team. I really don't.
And you saw a little bit too of that with the Cowboys saying we're done with Ezekiel Elliott.
They paid him. I'm glad Zeke got paid. I'm glad when any player gets paid. But when your backup starts outperforming you, it's time to cut ties. I mean, Tony Pollard clearly the last 2 years has been doing way better and filling in, getting more production there. And he was their number 2. And that's another thing that sucks. You don't think about it out loud that much, but when you pay a guy that much, you have to start him. You have to.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, you're not forced, but if I'm paying a guy $12 million to be the running back,
he should be the starter if you're paying him starter money.
Exactly. I think you can find the value somewhere else. But Moneyball's a good reference, Adam. I kind of see that with what they're doing, and they certainly are doing it with age and costs on this team. I mean, the guys that have been let go, they've been on this team so long, they're in their 30s now, and you're like, I love you, man. We had some good memories, but logically it is the sound choice and the business-wise, which I really like that, Like we said a couple weeks ago, this team for 4 or 5 years kept trying to run it back, which was the wild card or the divisional round, and they don't have to do that anymore.
The other sports movie I'm getting a lot of clips from is Draft Day, and I hope the Vikings don't do a lot of that kind of stuff.
I want David Putney just because I feel like it. I was thinking about that outside an hour and a half ago. I was weed eating, and I was, oh my gosh. I was like, I have to watch Draft Day before the draft again. And he said,
I like Draft Day, but man, that was ridiculous. Like
it is not in the realm of reality.
No.
Yeah, that was some. And how did that movie end up being the one with like official NFL teams and stuff? You know what I mean? It's like it's so far out of the realm of anything that would happen. Yet that's the officially licensed NFL movie.
It's funny because you have good actors in that movie. You have Dennis Leary and Kevin Costner.
Of course, I wonder what that movie's like for people who are not. We're podcasting about this shit every single week, and we deep dive into it and feel like we have a good understanding. I wonder what it's like for people who really don't pay attention.
Well, it's
got to be kind of mind blowing in some ways.
Yeah.
It's really funny too because they have football guys in the movie. Arian Foster was there with God, I can't think of his name. He's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's Jack. Terry Crews. That was his dad. He goes, I want to be a Brown, just like you, Pops. And I'm like, that had to hurt coming out of your mouth being one of the best running backs ever for the Texans.
Of course, you know what? If you made a movie about Spielman and Zimmer and all that shit going on behind the scenes, you'd think that was fake.
That's a good point, too.
So, who knows?
I was just running through my favorited photos on my iPhone yesterday, and I was at that game in 2021 in Carolina when I moved back home. Cousins to KJ Osborne overtime win. And you see Kirk hugging on Mike Zimmer, they're both smiling, and then fast forward to like the next year or later on that season when they're screaming at each other.
They were hyping one another up. What are you?
Oh man, it was
What are
so
you
funny.
talking about?
That's what they told everybody. I wish we could have zoomed in on that and tried to read lips there. That'd have been so much fun.
If Zimmer would have been 20 years younger, he'd have fought him on the sidelines. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think that's about it, man. It's a sleepy week for Vikings news, but we're excited to keep doing this positional coverage breakdown. We'll do edge rushers next week, maybe the line as well, and obviously we'll lump in all the special teams together. We're not going to drag that out multiple shows, but
Yeah, you don't want to do a whole show about long snapper?
So I don't know if you guys have Peacock.
All pro
There's another
long
movie on there
snapper.
that's kind of interesting in a lot of ways. I don't know if you guys have seen the 60-yard line.
I haven't heard of that one. What is it?
These two best friends buy a house in Wisconsin, and it's right bordering the Lambeau Field parking lot. And it's I guess they hired some Vikings fans extras to be in it. I've never actually seen it, but
Huh.
You got my attention.
I'll
You
check it
dropped
out.
this at the perfect time, Adam, because football is just creeping back into my life again with the draft and giving me hope. That revolving door, that meme that goes out, get your hopes up again, get hurt, be sad, get your hopes up again.
Yeah.
I might have to give that a look.
so
We're at
what's a football movie that you guys always seem to go back to watch when you're getting the urge for one?
I mean, I watch Draft Day. I don't really have a football movie that I watch over and over again.
Remember the Titans.
Yeah, I love that movie, but
Remember
I've
the
watched
Titans,
it in
Friday
2
Night
years.
Lights.
See, I can't do the super serious movies. I love the comebacks. It's stupid.
Comebacks is great.
What's the one with Keanu Reeves?
Replacements.
Replacements is pretty good. Yeah, I did watch that one the other day.
The Water Boy.
Another one I've never seen is
Yeah,
the one.
Waterboy's classic.
Where's the one with where the Eagles guy walk on?
Oh, Mark
Wahlberg?
Mark Wahlberg
Yeah.
movie.
What's that
The
one?
fuck is
Marshall? No, Marshall's the
We Are
collar.
Marshall? Yeah, no, it's not that one.
I don't remember.
Oh, what the hell's the Mark Wahlberg one? Invincible.
There we go.
Yep.
Nice.
Nicely done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
sports
have
movies
a-
are always good.
I don't have a go-to football movie. That's a good one.
I know a lot of people love watching as like a little break something else that's kind of funny, like The Longest Yard is one that people always seem to like a little
Yeah.
bit. Whether it's the classic or the remake.
The Burt Reynolds or the Adam Sandler one. I personally like the Adam Sandler one better.
I do too.
Yeah.
I like it. I haven't watched it in a while, but yeah, it's a little more on the serious side of his goofy movies, and I like that one. But yeah, we'll keep doing this.
That one was funny. You got to watch some of the behind the scenes stuff on The Longest Yard because they had a lot of WWE former wrestlers were in it,
Right.
and then a lot of former football players. And they said that Bill Romanowski was just like all jacked up and was like, "I am fucking making these plays like they're real." And they had to keep telling him, "Dude, it's a movie," and he's like, "No." It's not, because he's Bill Romanowski. There's good stuff in that.
That's one of the time I'm just now realizing that the casting of that particular movie is so good.
It's so good.
It's such a good cast. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about Nelly being, the young fast running back, and then you
Yep.
have I forgot
Michael-
Joey Diaz was in there.
Cheeseburger Eddie.
So do you guys think of Jerry Maguire as being a football movie in some ways?
Here's my movie confession. If I've seen Jerry Maguire, I don't remember anything about it.
I've watched
So
it once.
I don't know.
Just because it's Tom Cruise, but no, not really. It's almost like, this one, what I'm going to name is a little directly related to football because there is scenes of it, but there's so much drama and there's so much else going on, like with Jerry Maguire. But like Any Given Sunday, yeah, it's a football movie, but I worry more about the drama than I care about what happens on the field in that movie.
You got like The Program and Rudy and all the classics,
I haven't thought about these in so
I
long.
forgot
man.
about Rudy.
Yeah.
I don't know how that is such a classic movie, but God, I haven't seen that one in years.
I'm going to start plugging stuff for y'all. I think that's going to wrap it up. We're at 50 minutes.
Yeah, we stretched this out long enough, I think.
Tried so hard. I looked at it like 35 minutes. I'm like, shit, we don't have anything else for this week.
We talk about Lamar Jackson some more. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, he needs to get an agent.
Drew Rosenhaus.
We can talk about Rodgers and the whole, San Francisco trying to want to step in.
That would be a cheat code if they got him. I'd be very pissed if they got him.
I would laugh so hard if the Jets fucked this up.
That'd be the most New York Jet thing to do.
I kind of want that to happen just because it would be absolutely hilarious.
Well, and speaking of that, now we're going to talk about it because I just have to get my opinion in that. If he does go there, that'd be the one place where Kyle Shanahan would be like, you want to take the summer off and you want to show up for OTAs? See you in June. He's not going to care.
Here's playbook.
Yeah, they don't care.
Go read
They
it
went
in
to
your
the
cave.
NFC Championship game with Brock freaking Purdy. I think they'll be all right if he doesn't show up for mini camp or whatever. Ugh.
But Kirk Cousins better go to Florida and throw to his receivers, otherwise he's terrible.
Good Lord. You better start throwing in February, Kirk.
You know what I'm really excited for is that we're in this lull pre-draft.
I thought you were going to say the Barbie movie.
Yeah, the Barbie movie. I can't wait. I low-key, okay, you got me on a way different subject here. I'll get back to it. Low-key, if I was doing the Barbie movie, it would be marketed exactly like what it is, and then you go to it, and it's like fucking Devil's Rejects. Like we're gonna switch that shit like 10 minutes into it. That would be what I would do with it. It would be amazing.
If you didn't want to get a job again in that field, that would be the thing to do. That's so funny.
I like that new Winnie the Pooh horror movie. I've heard it's terrible.
I don't need to see that. I can't wait for the draft to be over because I have more fun when, like, hey, here's our 5 to 6 players who are our new Minnesota Vikings, and you can go out and you can watch their highlights and interviews and you can get to know them, and you actually have things of substance to, like, sit down and talk about. And I get a little tired of the speculation because this process starts sooner and sooner and sooner. Every year it feels like so
are
we're
you
not
saying
even
the Vikings are going to draft us sooner?
Yes, I am, definitely. No, it's we're not even playing the Super Bowl, and we're already in mock draft season.
Yeah,
and it gets tiresome by the time you're actually to the draft.
This is the first year I think I haven't done a mock draft over on the Viking Age because I don't know. I just haven't really looked into the prospects that much. I don't want to say I'm disinterested in it, but I'm just not motivated.
Yeah, the Vikings are in the 20s, at the latter part of the draft, so it's not that exciting. And the season wouldn't have been as fun as it was if we were picking in the top 10. I mean, they would have lost a lot more, but yeah, it could go one of 5 different ways, and I think the most level-headed, boring one would be a not sexy pick at 23, which is, I think the majority percentage chance of what's going to happen. But we'll see. We appreciate you guys that jumped in the chat. Shout out to Justin. Shout out to Mike. Real 10K Beers. Appreciate you.
I know we went a little later than we usually do, but we wanted to make sure we could get on here and do our thing anyway.
Uh-huh.
If you guys want to get notifications for this show, like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit that notification bell, and it'll let you know when we're going live. I pre-schedule the shows. We aren't just going to start a show live and not give you a heads up. I will give you at least a couple hours notice, maybe even a day's notice so you can schedule it in. But, yeah, usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays it seems to be working for us. We'll do more positional breakdowns, and we are inching closer to the draft. It's 3 weeks away, so
our schedule always seems to tighten up a lot more when we get closer to the season.
Right. Yeah, we're going to do what we did the last couple of years. We started the COVID year. We actually did 2 3-hour shows the COVID year because we had nothing going on. I might actually go back and watch that. That's when we got Justin Jefferson. We were pumped. That was such a fun show. But we're going to do live starting at pick 1 on draft night. So be there for that. But
those are fun.
Like and subscribe to the channel, guys. We do post over on the Facebook page too. You can check it out when there's a topic or a transaction.
It's less of a podcast and more of us just hanging out. So just come hang out with us during draft.
Yeah, if you want the rip-off Wish version of the Pat McAfee show, that night
that's
is what we're going to be doing.
Us. Yeah, yep.
For sure.
It's us making fun of people making bad picks that we think.
Yeah.
Or getting mad when people trade up and take corners that we want.
Oh. So annoying. All right, guys. Let's plug your stuff and get out of here.
I want to thank everyone again for visiting the Viking Age during March. You guys did a great job of bringing my numbers up. It was a very nice month. I'll be able to afford some kitty litter.
Yeah.
Sure, Byrne will like that. But yeah, I've been putting some articles out over there, as well as if you go to @MNVikingZombie, you can follow me on Twitch. I currently have 79 followers over there, so one more will get me at 80. It'd be pretty sweet.
We'll promote that on
The followers and subs and bits and all that, donations, that's not a big deal, but if you can stop in every once in a while and just even say hi, it'd be nice to see some familiar faces in the
I got on recently to watch Adam do a stream, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm not bad at that game.
No, you're not. Pretty good at it.
I like booping people off the map. It's fun. It makes me smile inside.
That was a fun hang.
There's my website up on the screen right now, which you can check out. Some of my photography and artwork is available. If you guys want to share it on social media, that is always a great way to help out as well. The organic
Is it still
reach
pinned to the
is
top
really
of the Facebook
important.
page?
I don't know. Question mark. I probably should know that.
I am Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
Because people listening on so many of the places that our podcast are cannot see the link on the screen.
I will give it to you now. Kyle West has a photography website. You can, if you haven't watched and you're going to listen to it later on Podomatic, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen, we thank you for that. But
yeah.
I'm wearing a Purple People Podcast t-shirt. I found
Looks
it today.
great.
It seemed appropriate. You can buy it at this website. You can also buy prints of his photography, which is really, really cool. We all have our little niche that we're in outside of football, and this is what Kyle does. So you should check it out. https://2/, my bad. Kyle West 84, like Randy Moss, .pickfair.com. You should check that out. You can also find Purple People Podcast merch there and get it on a t-shirt or a mouse pad or a coffee mug.
Can you get a Carolina Panthers cup like you've been drinking out of?
It's my mom's. I know.
That's okay. Nothing
I
wrong with
know.
that.
And it's the biggest cup I have. I got to order a Vikings cup that I can have a lot in
No, what you got to do is you got to go to US Bank Stadium and get one of those from game day.
It's a lot more fun when it's authentic.
US Bank Stadium that needs repairs. It's in dire need of your money, apparently. We didn't talk about that this week.
You can stalk Kyle West at Vaguely Square. I talk to him a lot on the old Twitter machine.
Yeah, it seems throwing an opinion up there every now and then.
We were talking about old gaming consoles yesterday or today. It was really fun.
Yeah.
You can follow me, Kyle Smith, at NCDogDude on Instagram and Twitter. I am packing up and moving to Richmond, Virginia over the summer to be closer to my son, and I'm very excited about that. If you follow the show, since I've been a part of it, I have been a traveling circus for 11 years, or 8 years, however long I've been on. Oh, we didn't talk about that. Let's finish the show with that. But I'll be going to Richmond this summer. You guys can catch me out there. Guys, let's talk about what we said in the chat the other day. This show's been on 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years. How the hell have we been doing this for 11 years, Adam?
That's a long time.
It is insane.
I think one day me and West were just in the same Vikings Facebook group.
Yeah. Hey, we should do a thing, Adam. That's how this started.
And so we started recording some Skype calls, and then that turned into this.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? The way I became friends with you guys is how I became friends with like one of my famous rock star buddies. I just pestered you guys enough till you interacted with me, and here we are.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
11 years worth of Vikings heartbreak.
We've seen quarterbacks come and go, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We didn't even
have to go over that come and go.
Depressing list we talked about the other day. Oof.
But I know Smith already did this, but thank you once again to everyone who joined us in the chat. You guys are great. We love the discussion, and we love when you guys give us reviews and likes wherever you watch or listen to us. Thank you so much for all of that. We'll be back next week, and I believe you said we're going to talk about the defensive line and edge rushers, so that should be kind of fun. It should lead us right into more draft talk, because hopefully there'll be some noise there that we can follow. And then maybe we'll even have a little bit more free agency or trade stuff happening.
Fingers crossed. Either way, we're getting closer to the draft, ladies and gentlemen.
The closer you can get to football being back on my TV, the happier I'll be. Speaking of that, I haven't seen a whole lot on the new direct ticket thing because YouTube TV has it now, but I haven't looked too much into the cost and all that.
I haven't seen the details really for that either. Of course, I haven't looked too hard.
Yeah, you don't need it. You're in the TV area, aren't you?
For the most part, every now and then they'll do weird shit, and that's usually when the Vikings are having a bad season. They'll start to flex games out, and I won't get them on local television. But for the most part, yeah, I'm close enough to Minnesota that I get the bulk of the games. About the only time I don't is when it's like Packers Bears or Packers Lions that are playing one another. Sometimes they'll flex Minnesota out to put those guys in, which pisses me off.
Yeah, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan here is a lot of Packer country, so our TV station up here is Packers, but the other TV station that we've got that plays Fox stuff is a Lions channel, so it gets a little rough.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have Starlink satellite, so when I log into my TV to watch stuff and it goes with my local stuff, Starlink is based in Chicago, so now I'll get every Bears game this year.
I wonder if you could use a VPN to trick it into thinking you're in like Minneapolis.
I just thought about that in my head.
Yeah.
Where's your location? Cool. Minneapolis.
Right.
I tried doing that on Pokemon Go. Caught a few Pokemon outside of US Bank Stadium, and then I don't know, I just couldn't get it to work anymore.
Yeah.
Is Pokemon Go still a thing?
It exists.
Nice. Well, once again, thanks for everyone. We went over an hour, so we're going to call her here. We'll be back next week. Thanks again to everyone, and stay classy in Minnesota.